Hey, Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here, and today I'm going to connect with Ryan Lafortune and find out what makes him an Autumn Athlete. That's not done yet. As always, before we get started, if you would, please like, subscribe, ding that bell for notifications, and don't forget to visit automathletesndy.com for all your merch and interesting information about Autumn Athletes. All right, let's get this thing started. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us today. Why don't you give us a little introduction of yourself?
Sure. My name is Ryan Lafortune. I'm currently residing in British Columbia, Canada, on Vancouver Island. I'm 47 years old, married, no kids, and a financial advisor for my 9 to 5 day job. I got into athletics and fitness pretty late. I lifted my first weight at 33 years old as an obese guy and ended up transitioning to the sport of powerlifting, where I was at the top levels competing both locally and internationally. Set some records. They're not really there anymore, but records are made to be broken. And since powerlifting, which my last meet, I believe I was like 46, just 45, I transitioned to combat sports and using that to keep myself fit now.
Okay, well, great to meet you, and we're going to talk a lot more about that stuff in just a second. Um, We're gonna do things a little different today. First, I want to start out by having you just fill us in on all your highlights. You got quite a few of them there. Now, if there are some before the powerlifting, you can do that as well, but certainly the powerlifting and anything else. So give us kind of a rundown of your achievements and maybe like what the most meaningful ones are to you.
Okay, in powerlifting, I started with nothing, an empty barbell as kind of a fat businessman kind of guy, and competed. My first competition, I was 37, I believe, and I continued winning. So it was a local meet, and then a big meet, and then 2018 BC Provincials, then 2018 Western Canadian Championships, then 2019 Canadian Nationals, 2020 Canadian Nationals, 2020 North American Championships, 2021 North American Championships. Medaled in all of them. I've competed maybe 15 times, also in Strongman. And on the powerlifting side, never finished off the podium. My last meet, I still put up a decent total and still podiumed, but then left my shoes on the platform. In combat sports, I just picked it up after my last meet. And I have gone and attended a professional fight camp in Poland, survived and thrived that. And I'm looking forward to a smoker fight, which is the Muay Thai equivalent of the amateur side, next year, and I will be 48 years old stepping into the ring for the first time. So those are sort of the sports accomplishments. On a personal level and sort of as my life journey, I started my adulthood as a homeless drug addict. So I started from there with nothing and achieved a career college diploma and all these honors in athletics as an older late bloomer.
And so when was that time frame, age-wise, where you were having the issues and dependencies and so forth?
So it was 19 years old. I found myself on the streets, and I was on and off the streets, sleeping rough, sleeping on street grates, getting by any way I could, until just before my 25th birthday, when I decided to put an end to that, and got myself into a college. And sort of as they go, the rest is history.
Okay, so when 37 came around, you talked about being a fat businessman. Like, tell us a little bit about, how did you, where were you at that point? And then how did you all of a sudden start lifting weights?
I lifted my first weight at 33 years old. It ties into the homelessness thing, sort of in a way. The moment I sobered up, I was sleeping, trying to survive in frigid Canada on a heat grate outside of a hospital. And I was shivering and trying to put a needle in my arm and couldn't really do it. And then at that moment, I was like, nope, that's it. My life changes right here. And I pulled it out, stubbed it on the ground, and went cold turkey at that point. Now, why I bring that up is because I was 33 years old. I was in a Four Seasons hotel attending a business conference, and I had been long sober by that point. Everything's going great, got a great job, career, college education. And I bent down to go tie my shoes to go to this meeting, and I couldn't tie my shoes. I was close to 300 pounds with a big belly, just kind of how different people are shaped differently. And I had this moment right there where the shame of not being able to tie my shoes made me flash back to that moment where I decided to sober up. And I went, man, I'm doing it again. I'm killing myself here. And at that moment, I had to go to that meeting with my shoes untied, laces tucked in, totally ashamed of myself. Nobody knew probably, but it was me. And that brought me right back to that moment. And at that moment, the next morning, I was on the treadmill in that hotel. I managed to walk for 15 minutes before I gassed out. And then that's where that started. I got back home from that business conference, emptied the cupboards of all the garbage food, and started working out at a little tiny hotel gym in a small town, just like sort of where where you could buy a membership, small town in the hotel. Started working out, losing some pounds. And then I got up the courage to go into a real gym not too long after that, and started working out, started training. Now, genetically, whether it was I was a big guy, I was pretty strong, took to it, loved it. And here's where I got a big stroke of universe luck. And one of those workouts, there was this gigantic young man in his early 20s, gigantic, 350 pounds, 4 plates on the bench, just repping it. And here I am, new to the gym, kind of an older guy. And I'm like, can I work in with you? Because it was the only bench press in the gym. And he's like, sure. And we started working out together. And he's like, man, you're pretty strong for an old man. I'm a couple of years in at this point, and I'm like kind of blushing. And is this like neck like this? He was a power lifter. And how that whole powerlifting journey started was like, hey, man, I'm going to school to be a strength and conditioning coach. Can I train you for free to write term papers? And I was with that same coach from my first powerlifting workout, all those comps up to the 2-time North Americas. I was with him the whole ride. He flew down with me to Texas for that last one. And so I got to give credit to him. It's Victoria Barbell, Jason Klaus. If anyone's out there, look those up. And that's how that one happened. So without him, or without that sort of universal coming together, I'd still on the path to fitness, but none of that athletic greatness might have happened, sort of, as it were, for an older guy. When I say greatness, I don't mean greatness as in Michael Jordan. I mean greatness for a regular guy at an office job to start winning powerlifting meets.
Okay, so when you started doing the workouts, you lost a significant amount of weight. How much did you lose altogether? And then, obviously it's more than just the working out. So tell us what you did differently dietarily wise, and then also give us an idea of what type of workouts you did do as a powerlifter.
All right, so I started off, as mentioned, I was close to 300 pounds. I used every fad diet, every crappy workout advice, everything I was getting online. And because I had a stick-to-itiveness to it and some consistency, I was losing weight. I got down to 215 pounds, which for my height's relatively normal. My doctor was pleased. Everything was awesome. But I was proverbially skinny fat. And then what changed when I switched to powerlifting and learning more was lifting heavy, eating appropriately. I started eating more. And I put myself back up to 230, 240 pounds. But that looked sure a lot different than the previous big guy. And so that's how that one was. I sort of learned how to eat for performance, or eat to grow. Not eat to grow as a fat person, but eat to grow muscularly and train and recovery. And I was working out 4 days a week, most of my powerlifting career in powerlifting. And then every other week I'd do a strongman style day of dynamic things, stones, logs, pulls, carries, and things like that throughout that training. So powerlifting training, often 5x5 set schemes, 3-2-1, all those popular kind of ones were incorporated in as my coach was experimenting on me in different things. And then he got in his rhythm, and it started being individualized programming based on my weaknesses and my lifts. And we tried some of the West Side barbell things and bands and all these different things until we settled into a good rhythm of eating like a farm boy and lifting heavy weights. And you can't be afraid of the scale. You can't be afraid of those big plates of food when you're eating to perform. And it took care of itself. Like people would say, look at the scale. Oh, you're back up to 250. But those two guys are vastly apart.
Yeah.
And I was able to do things and obviously touch my toes and tie my shoes again and squat 600 pounds and
Yeah.
all of that. But it was eating and training to perform. And I did have to do a little more recovery maybe than a young guy, but that's where where some of the training methodologies and things. Basically, heavy plates on the dinner table and heavy plates on the barbell was the main mission there.
I've never heard that one. I like it. That's a good one.
Heavy plates, man, both in the kitchen and in the gym,
Okay, so I have a very eclectic audience here of all different types of sports, and you threw a couple of terms out there from a powerlifting standpoint, 5x5 and so forth, that maybe people are like, "What does that mean?" So walk us through, an actual workout. The reps, the rest, the weights. What would something be that you would do typically in one of your powerlifting workouts?
Okay, a 5x5 means 5 sets of 5 reps, and those would be of the main movers: squat, bench, dead, overhead press, rows, things like that, like the heavy barbell movements. I would do accessories, curls and all the different other kind of bodybuilding style things in conjunction with that in more traditional set schemes of 3 sets of 10, 4 sets of 10, those kinds of 7 and 8 reps. So that's that one. And I would always train in percentage of max. So I would have to dial in my 1 rep maxes all the time. Not all the time because I was an older guy. And okay, if I could squat 400 pounds, we'll pick that as the number at the time, I should be able to accomplish 5 sets of 5 reps at 340, kind of scenario, a percentage of that total. And then you add a couple of kilos on the bar every week until you fail. And this is how I did it. And then once I fail the lift or fail the rep scheme, we dialed it down 10% and then went right back up again. So that's the sort of 5x5 scheme, and that outlined it. 3-2-1 is a progression. That's Wendler's 3-2-1. If anyone wants to Google that one, a very common starting powerlifting program where you do triples, doubles, and then test your singles. That is to build strength. It's not necessarily focused on hypertrophy or different things, but it's all part and parcel. You put time in the gym, you're going to build bigger muscles. Strength and neural adaptations are slightly different. We can get into those later, but that's a 3-2-1 kind of scheme. And those were the sort of general principles I followed. Was lift heavier and heavier and heavier, test the maxes once in a while, adjust the percentages, heavier, adjust the percentages. In terms of working out, it was always generally 4 days a week and an optional 5th day. Now, young guys or different people could work out 5-6 days a week, but if you're pushing heavy iron or getting close to your neural maxes or different things, you need a little more recovery, because in powerlifting, it's not always recovering your muscles. It's your central nervous system firing and easing up on the joints when you're pushing big weights. And big weights can be 1,000 pounds or big weights can be 100 pounds. It's big weights for you based on your capabilities. You'll still have central nervous system fatigue and things to work through for those kinds of things. So recovery was always important, and never working out too much. Whenever I pushed the envelope working out too much, we'd get backslides and injuries and things like that.
You had great success in the powerlifting, but real quick before we move on from that, give us what your PRs were in the big lifts and maybe your totals and so forth.
Okay, so my biggest squat in competition, 601 pounds. My biggest bench press in competition, I believe, was 355. My biggest deadlift in competition was 645. So that's in powerlifting competitions, barehanded, raw. My best squat in the gym was 616 pounds. My best bench in the gym was 365 pounds. My best deadlift was 660 in a powerlifting context. In Strongman, I deadlifted 700 pounds. That was with straps and hitching. So there's slight different nuances there for those kinds of different competitions.
Sure.
And I've been able to do some cool stuff in Strongman, like deadlift a car and the big stones and all that kind of stuff. Now in Strongman, being 230, 240 pounds is a tiny little guy. So I would compete in sort of the masters lightweight kind of competitions, as much as that is a tiny little guy.
Right.
In that sport, you sure are.
And so you've retired, left your shoes on the podium, and now you've
Mm-hmm.
gone into this new endeavor here. So tell us a little bit about, how you decided to get involved in it, and then how has that journey been so far? And then you did mention that you're looking forward to next year, but again, remind us of what the goal is here over the next year.
So my last meet, powerlifting was 2023. I did everything right. The training went well, but I finished worse than my meet before. So that was just age and time. So I still put up 1,500 pounds in my last meet, but up to my expectations as it wasn't there. So it was time to end it, or just grind my joints into dust, or do things like that, right? So I left my shoes on the platform in 2023. I spent a few months just eating, barely working out, feeling sorry for myself and things, looking for a new hobby. And then on New Year's, I was a New Year's guy again. I signed up at a local Muay Thai gym as just a way to keep it different. And that New Year's, my resolution also getting over powerlifting was to do the hard 75, which is an internet trend workout scheme, sort of. And I wanted to break my paradigm. So I signed up at a local Muay Thai gym and just started loving the training. It was totally different. It was nice to be terrible at something. I was horrible. I still am on a levels to the fight game kind of thing, but it was amazing. It was engaging. And in terms of my life, my wife was like, "Oh my God, Muay Thai, really?" After powerlifting. And she was a little hesitant at first, so was I. I'm getting shiners, I'm getting bruises and bumps and things. And but what happened was the athlete and consistency habits kicked back in. All of a sudden, I had a reason to eat right. I had a reason to train. I had a reason to sleep. I had a reason to take naps. I had a reason to do all these things. And then my wife was fully on board. She's like, "Nope, I like this guy better who's getting up early to go exercise or feeling pleased with himself all day." So that was the transition there from lifting to combat sports.
So now the workouts are very different. Kind of tell us what is a day? You go to the dojo. I don't know. Do you call it a dojo in Muay Thai? I'm not sure, but
Muay Thai is just a gym. We just call
just
it the
gym.
gym.
Gym. Yeah. So when you do go to
Yeah.
the gym, what is a typical workout day entail?
All right. So yeah, I go, Monday, Wednesday, Sundays for drills and calisthenics and things, just sort of general training classes. We'll start with warm-ups, jumping rope, practicing some moves, practicing knees, walking blocks, like warming up our hips, that kind of stuff. And then we get into heavy bag or drills. We're wearing pads and gloves, and the coach calls out, jab, cross, left kick. And you're standing across from someone and you jab, cross, left kick them live, full contact. They know it's coming. We're wearing pads, but hilarity ensues sometimes when someone screws up one of those combos or something when the coach calls out. And then we do clinch work. We lots of different things there. And on Fridays, it's sparring. So we get in the ring for 3-minute rounds with each other in a friendly manner and put it to practice. So it's 4 days a week, 90 minutes each time. And then outside of Muay Thai, to help with that, I run some 5Ks, do some rucks and hiking, and it's basically cardio. I only hit the gym now when I have time on my lunch break from work, just for fun, talk to the boys and girls, that kind of thing. But I am strong enough for a combat sports sense. I will be for years from all the years of lifting, even though since my last powerlifting meet to now, I've lost another 40 pounds. I'm now smaller than I was in college, kind of thing. But so it's basically cardio, stretching, and then Muay Thai drills now.
You talked about your big setback and your life, how should I say it? Your lifestyle when you were younger. But other than that, have you had any other kind of, injuries, illnesses, setbacks that have, hindered you along the way? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Okay, powerlifting is a very injurious sport. It's not if you get injured, it's when. If you're pushing the envelope, no matter your perfect form, anything like that, if you don't drop a lift or get a little mild tweak or injury, you're almost not working out hard enough. Some of those science-based lifters are going to get mad at me when they hear that sort of thing. But if you're not pushing the envelope, you're not powerlifting or you're not getting that PR. So in powerlifting alone, I have torn a pec, I have torn muscles, I have bumped, every kind of conceivable. On a deadlift in the 2020 Nationals, I dislocated a rib, tore a muscle in my neck on a deadlift. Basically, my arm ripped off on the inside, if you could picture it that way, with a pec tear. That was a funny one because nobody really saw it. But if you look at the video of me doing that, the singlets are kind of revealing in powerlifting. And people are like, "Oh, how'd you get hurt?" And I'm like, "Here, watch this lift." They're like, "I don't see anything." And I'm like, "Look at my nipple." And my nipple went whoop and moved over to the side when the pec came out. Before my last meet, 16 weeks before it, I dropped a 495-pound deadlift across my tibia and broke it. That was 16 weeks before that last meet. And then I had to have surgery on it because the weight landed and crushed my calf shin bone down. And I got compartment syndrome, which is excessive swelling and all that. So they had to cut me open. and that was 14 weeks before that meet. That was the last one. My injury that cost me Worlds, that was in 2021, moving to 2022. I'd qualified for Worlds, had plane tickets, everything good to go. And this is my most severe injury of all time, and a kind of funny story. I stepped out of the bathtub, missed the bath mat. One foot went this way. The other one got tangled up in the shower curtain in there, and I ended up half in the tub, half out of the tub with my foot pointing the wrong direction. Tore an adductor, groin, and my abdominal wall on that one. That one was almost, that was why the last big meet was 2021 and the next one was 2023. was those kind of injuries. And then during my combat sport career, sort of my only main injury so far, again, not anything related. I got bit by a cat on my hand and got cat scratch fever, and it swole up like that. And they were getting ready to cut off fingers and things. And I was hospitalized for 2 weeks till they figured out the antibiotics, and then they fixed me up. So you name it, I've got stitches on it or whatnot. And my real key to getting over an injury is atrophy is your enemy. Right the day after I tore off my leg and it was pointed the wrong direction, I was dragging it behind me walking in the morning. That's all I could do was walk or go fart around in a pool. And that's what I did. I did not ever once, same with the broken leg, I did not ever once stop moving. Now, I'm not suggesting, oh, you break your leg, well, go squat 400 pounds. I'm suggesting you broke your leg, get a boot, go to the pool. You know, it's things like that. Same with my hand. I was working out everything else. All through all those injuries, I never stopped training. Now, when I was a little younger, get hurt, you kind of do stupid stuff and you push through it or you do things. But then as I got older, it was like, okay, I have to keep moving, but I have to not re-injure myself. So that's essentially how I got through them all, was by never stopping training, just training around and with them and figuring out a way to keep the habits, which is probably the most important part. Even if you're just lifting the bar after some kind of injury, going, socializing, seeing the guys, seeing the girls, going to your home gym, wherever you work out, and keeping up that routine, told my body and told my psyche that this wasn't stopping us. We're not stopping. And then I think that helps in the healing process and things.
So I'm going to go back a little bit to diet nutrition. Now, you talked about in your powerlifting days how, you know, you ate more and then, you know, you lost weight, but then gained it back in muscle and ate for performance. Now, you know, you're quite a bit lighter and leaner and doing some things a little bit differently. So give us a little more information on what you were eating then, you know, macros and so forth, and then versus what you're eating now.
Okay, so this may again irritate some science-based guys. I never track my macros once ever. I don't track anything per se, but what I do is I got a diet plan a few years ago and I still stick to it. It's measuring my portions. So I'm not flying by the seat of my pants, but the difference between, I'm on the same diet plan I was powerlifting as I am now. A balanced whole food diet. I avoid processed food. I avoid garbage. I avoid sugar. I avoid this. Yeah, I'll have a cheat meal here and there. But balanced whole foods, I cook it myself, try and avoid restaurants and things. My main diet plan is I have whatever I kind of want for breakfast within reason, couple eggs, bacon, toast, you know, smaller portions than once upon a time. And then after that, I measure out 5 ounces of protein, 1 cup of carbs, 1 cup of veg. And the only difference between powerlifting now and combat sports now is I have 3 of those meals versus 5 or 6. So it's the exact same framework of like 3, 4, 5 meals a day, whether I was bulking, going up and down in the weight classes, but they are the same meal, not the same foods, but it was 5 ounces of protein, a cup of carbs, and a cup of veg, as many times as required to go up or down in the weight classes.
You kind of answered this question. I'm going to ask it a little bit earlier, but I'm going to ask it again in case you have a little more detail on it. You know, at 47, you've retired from a certain discipline. You're now exploring a new discipline that you're getting better and better at. What's the motivation? What drives you to keep going?
I'm a chip on your shoulder kind of guy. I like being the heel. It was one of those things where it was, tell me I can't do something. We got all these media out there and all the world and everyone playing victim doing this. And it was like, oh, you're a fat person. You can't lose weight. Well, and watch me. And, you know, oh, you can't go into powerlifting, this kind of sport in your 30s. Watch me. You can't do combat sports in your late 40s. Watch me.
Mhm.
There's some of the motivations, right or wrong,
Yep.
is that kind of is where I get my motivation from for doing this stuff. Is just I want to better myself and be fit because the rest of my life is better. But it's kind of the chip on my shoulder motivation. And I really recommend people find their motivation. It doesn't have to be that, but whatever that is, your kids, your lifestyle, you want to be fit, you want to look jacked, you want to, anything like that. And for me, it was sheerly because the world and society says I can't do stuff like this at this age. So it's like, all right, I'm going to run around the world and I'm going to finish my race in front of your house. So it's on your local news to prove that I did it kind of style. And the other goal, I guess, with Muay Thai as well is I've never done anything like this before. I've never
Yeah.
taken a martial art. I've never doing so the self-defense aspect of it, like it's learning how to protect myself and family and different things like that will be the continuing motivation. I can't do what I did in powerlifting and combat sports. I can't become a pro fighter. Like I understand this at this age. No doctor would, sanction certain things. So, one little amateur fight in my hometown is a little different than, I'm not making the UFC. So I need different motivations, unlike in powerlifting where it was become the world over 40 champion or you go to worlds for Canada, all those kinds of things. So it's really self-defense and fitness. And I want to get in the ring really to cement the lessons of Muay Thai. You can do a martial art or you can do a combat sport all you want in the gym, all you want on the bag. But until you step in that ring against another person, how are you going to know, right?
You made an incredible life transformation at a relatively older age to begin with, starting weight training at 33. What would you tell folks out there that are maybe in that position of maybe they're really overweight or maybe they're skinny fat, as you would say, or just not feeling good and they want to get involved and try to change their life and feel better and be able to perform better? What words of wisdom would you have for folks to get going?
My only superpower doing all this was consistency and goal setting. Set a goal. If the goal is 10,000 steps, do it. Start small, then increment your goals up. Whatever sport, whatever fitness you're in, there's ways to set goals. There's ways to document your progress. Powerlifting's easy. How many kilos are on the bar? It's a little bit different in different sports, but there could be 10,000 steps. There could be lose 5 pounds. There could be get a better uh, at any kind of sport or anything. You can increase. So it's goal setting and consistency. Set the goal, make a plan to the goal, achieve the goal, and be consistent. Don't miss a workout. If you're ill, a half-assed workout is better than sitting on the couch or like those sorts of things. Really just be consistent, baby steps, and monitor your progress and look back every now and then and celebrate the wins. Like if you bench press the bar and then a month later you got tens on either side, you just increased in strength 10 or 20% at whatever age you started there. Like you look back and go, yes. If you're a runner, your 5K time is 45 minutes. Now it's 40. That's a 10% improvement. Think in percents, think in incremental gains and goals, and then just keep trucking and adjust those goals as you go. And it can work for anything.
That might have been a great way to finish right there, but I'm going to ask my final question I always do or give you the floor. So first I want to say thank you for joining us today to let us know what makes you an autumn athlete. That's not done yet. But I want to just wrap up and give you the floor for to give us some final thoughts.
Yeah, it's really the real piece is goal setting and consistency. I think the human mind is incredible and goal achieving is automatic. Think of that. Goal achieving is automatic. The universe, if you're spiritual, your higher power, everybody wants you, is in your corner to achieve that goal. The only thing stopping you is you. And that's making plans, and that's being consistent, and that's documenting your progress, celebrating your wins, not taking your losses too hard. You have a cheat meal. It doesn't need to be a cheat month. That attitude of like, oh, I guess I had a hamburger, so I better have 9 ice creams. Those sorts of things. But remember, the world is rooting you on. And if you just keep at it, the goal achieving is automatic. Like that, I can't stress that anymore. If you want to run a 30-minute 5K, it will happen. Whatever, I'm just making up numbers or making up stories. If you plan and go, okay, I'm here. Now I got to run twice a week. Now I should do this. And in terms of the diet, it's exactly the same way. Pick any kind of diet that you can adhere to. Adherence is the key to diet. every diet work. You can fast, you can be a vegetarian, you can count your carbs, you can count your macros. All of them work because of the laws of thermodynamics if you stick to it. So it's about consistency in the training and the diet, and then recovery. Don't be afraid of naps, sleep. Like really, like sleep and nutrition, like every new fad that comes out, I'm going to put a bubble suit on and fill it with cold water. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I'm like, why don't you just have a nap? You know what? Go to your chiropractor, go for a walk, and get everything sorted out. Walking is incredible. I average 10, 15,000 steps a day. It's the most natural human movement. Anyone can do it. It's like burning calories. You're having fun with your spouse, your kids. It's something you can adhere to, a walk every morning. Just wake up, go for a 20-minute walk around the block. Or when I was powerlifting with all that, we used to go for 10-minute walks after each meal. There's probably some science in that one, but I was just doing it to add to the step count. And as recovery walking was recovery rucking, hiking, all of these things, anyone can do them. And, only 5% of people apparently who are overweight or obese ever keep the weight off. And I think that's because of those things. It's not setting a goal. It's not being consistent. It's not magic. The world's not against you. It's not your metabolism failed. It's not you need a cleanse. You don't need fit tea. You don't need any of those kinds of things. If you can set a goal, make a plan for that goal, stick to it, and celebrate the wins along the way, anyone can achieve anything. Like, human beings are the most incredible things out there. And look what we've built. Look what we've done. Look at, people on the moon, all, whatever, Usain Bolt, all of these things. It's like an iceberg. We see Usain Bolt win a race, but that was 15 years of his life for that 8 seconds or 9 seconds, right? And that's the thing you have to focus on is, I don't want to say the grind, but your little steps each day, and keeping it real with yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Don't shade yourself. Don't bullshit yourself. And go, okay, I'm going to, I screwed up today. I'm going to do better tomorrow. Today is the best day of your life. It's the only one you have. Yesterday's gone, and the only day better than today is tomorrow. So set a goal for it. And that's essentially how I did all of this, was writing down my goals, planning how to get there, and then executing the plan. And it doesn't always seem, if you look at my daily life, it's not any different than anyone else's. I don't have any magical pills. I'm not up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm not doing anything like that. I go for a walk. I go to the gym or train Muay Thai. I don't eat like an a-hole. Everyone knows what foods are bad for them and what aren't. Like, it's really just putting it together in a nice, solid plan for yourself and executing. And age is no barrier. It's recovery, maybe, up the recovery, go for more walks, do all of that. And it will all happen. Like, that was I don't think I'm any different than anyone else. Regular guy, middle-aged office worker here. Everyone knows middle-aged office workers. A bunch of people listening to this are going to be middle-aged office workers. Yeah. And I worked full-time that whole time doing all that in my office. Around the water cooler, chat and everything like that. And it just became the habits that set in are what's going to make you.
There you go. Ryan Lafortune, everybody. He is definitely an autumn athlete that's not done yet. Remember, keep moving, set your own goals, and train hard to achieve them. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.